Confucius. N. Wisdom of things, or utmost investigation of things. Tien Cong Tran, Ph.D. Section 1. The final cause. Wisdom of things is utmost investigation of things. Perfect knowledge lies in utmost investigation of things. The commentary of Chuang-Tzu on wisdom of things is lost. Chu Shi interprets wisdom of things as investigation of the final cause of things. What is the final cause of things? Man lives beside things. To investigate things is a natural tendency of man. Investigation to know resides in man's nature. Investigation of things takes place under two main aspects. These two aspects take place in two questions. The first question, what makes a thing? And the second question, who makes a thing? The question what makes a thing, asks about the nature of a thing. This nature is also called by different names: essence, substance, quintessence, core, basic quality, basic characteristic. In the history of philosophy there are numerous conceptions of the essence. The question who makes a thing, asks about the existence, the actuality of a thing. For example, we make an investigation of a table. Question, what makes a table? Answer, wood makes a table. The question and the answer talk about the essence of a table. Question, who makes a table? Answer, a carpenter makes a table. The question and the answer talk about the existence of a table. For example, we make an investigation of the universe. Question, what makes the universe? Answer, ether, yin-yang, makes the universe. The question and the answer talk about the essence of the universe. Question, who made the universe? Answer, God created the universe. The question and the answer talk about the existence of the universe. Question, how did God create the universe? Answer, from nothing God created the universe. The question and the answer seem to talk about the essence as well as the existence of the universe. The cause is the cause of the essence or the existence or of both the essence and the existence. And man wants to reach the final cause. So, man has a great greed for knowledge, he wants to know the final cause. When looking into a thing, what man firstly and clearly sees is material. A table is made of wood. The banyan tree at the end of the village is composed of a trunk, branches, and leaves. So, material makes things. There are many material elements: wood, stone, water, fire, metal, air, gold, silver, diamond. There are more than 100 elements. There are many things or thousands of things. Finally, people discovered that 1 or 2 or 3 or a certain number of elements constitute all things. In the history of philosophy there are many different conceptions of material elements that constitute things. Section 2. From the final cause to the way. But in the investigation of things, an important event takes place. Why does it occur that it is wood, but here it is a table, there it is a house, and at that place it is a bridge? So, besides wood there is something else. If wood or material is what man sees by his eyes, that something else is what man does not see by his eyes. What man sees appears in some form and is called the physical. What man does not see does not appear in any form and is called the metaphysical. Meta means surpassing, going beyond. The metaphysical surpasses or goes beyond the physical. Material, the physical, everybody sees it. But the metaphysical, nobody sees it. Therefore, a question may arise: is there the metaphysical? In the history of philosophy, many philosophers have tried to prove that there is the metaphysical. Some have denied the metaphysical, it is not real. Philosophy as metaphysics is a study of the metaphysical. Indeed, the metaphysical is only a name. That name indicates something that is not material. So, in investigation of things, one meets with material and the metaphysical. In the great learning or in Confucius thought, is there the metaphysical? And if there is it, what is it? The fundamental question of Confucius is what makes a thing appear as a thing. Especially, what makes a man appear as a man. The question neither aims at the essence nor at the existence of a thing. The question aims at the domain, the realm of brightness in which a thing appears as a thing. But interpretations of Confucius thought can follow the direction of the essence or the existence of a thing. So, when he investigates a thing, Confucius meets with the domain in which a thing appears. Confucius sees if a thing wants to appear as a thing, it must harbor the way. So, in his utmost investigation of things, Confucius leads us to the way. He does not lead us to the final cause that is understood as the final cause of material. It is not material, but the way is the final cause of a thing. Is the way the final cause of the existence of a thing? If the existence is understood as giving birth to material or making material or bringing some form to material, the way is not the final cause of a thing. When a carpenter makes a table, he brings form table to wood, the way is not such a cause. So even though it raises the question of the final cause of things, the thought of the way abandons the domain of the final cause and leaps into the domain of the way. When Chu Shi says that the utmost investigation of things is the investigation of the final cause of things, he does not see the leap from material into the domain of the way. Confucius does not seek the final cause of things, he abandons material things and leaps into the way. If we want to talk about the final cause of things, we should say that the way is the final cause. However, at that time we must realize that the way and material in a thing are two different realities. Section 3. Relation between the physical and the metaphysical. There also is an important question that must be raised: material or the physical and the metaphysical, which one is more important? In the history of philosophy, some say material is more important and others say the metaphysical is more important. But what does more important mean? More important denotes the essential, and the other is the secondary. If material is more important, it is the essential, materialism. The metaphysical is only the secondary attached to the essential. There are numerous interpretations of this secondary role. If the metaphysical is more important, it is the essential, idealism. Material is only the secondary. There is still another important question: are the physical and the metaphysical one reality or two different realities? Most people think that they are two aspects of one reality, monism. In Hinduism there is only one true reality, Brahman. For Hegel the only reality is absolute spirit. Section 4. The Twofold. A very important discovery in the history of Western philosophy is the discovery of the twofold. But few people set their eyes on this discovery. Husserl is the vanguard of this discovery. What is called the way in Chinese philosophy is called being in Western philosophy. Husserl discovers that there is intuition of being or categorical intuition. Categorical intuition is different from intuition of material things or sensual intuition. According to Husserl, being is neither found in a thing, object, nor in a man, subject. Being is something different from a thing or a man. Husserl also discovers that, even though intuition of being is different from intuition of a thing, intuition of being takes place only in intuition of a thing. Heidegger emphasizes the fact that being, even though it is different from a thing, takes place only in a thing. He calls this fact the twofold. The twofold indicates that being and a thing, though they are two different realities, take place at the same time. In other words, in a material thing there is being, although being is not a thing. Section 5. Confucius and the Twofold. Confucius also asks a question about things and, according to Chu Shi's explanation, about the final cause of things. We can accept that at the beginning of Confucius thought is investigation of things. But when Confucius goes to the depth of thought, he meets with the domain in which things appear. According to the Twofold, in the domain of the appearance of things there is the appearance of being or the way. Confucius sees the way. 1. Confucius sees the way in a thing. The way, as we have said, is heaven, earth, spirit, God. 2. Confucius sees that because there is the appearance of the way, there is the appearance of a thing. 3. Confucius also sees that so that a thing, including a man, can appear as a true thing, it must be the place of the appearance of the way. 4. Confucius does not speak of the twofold and of the difference between the way and a thing. In fact, the difference exists only in theoretical and analytic view. In fact, the way and a thing, material, appear at the same time. 5. Confucius does not speak of material, but he speaks of the way. If he speaks of a thing, he speaks of it as place of harboring the way. Therefore, his thought is thought of the way, and if it is of things, it is of things as places of the appearance of the way. 6. Because Confucius does not speak of the twofold or the difference between the way and a thing, people can interpret that for Confucius the way and a thing are one. Such an interpretation is reinforced by the fact that Confucius himself does not speak of the twofold. But the fact that Confucius does not speak of the twofold does not mean that he does not know the twofold. 7. Because Confucius does not pose the problem of the twofold, many of his statements seem to violate the rule of the twofold. A typical example of this violation is when he says that heaven and earth give birth to all things. This giving birth to causes the idea of creating, making, being the final cause of. In this meaning, heaven, earth, and all things are one. Indeed, Confucius sees that heaven, earth is the domain or, speaking according to Heidegger, the realm of brightness, Lichtung, in which all things appear. Therefore giving birth to means, the appearance of the way in a thing makes a thing appear as a thing. If we do not see the way, heaven, earth, we do not see that brown wood as a bridge. Confucius does not say that heaven, earth is a bridge or all things. Hinduism says that Brahman, Atman, is all, including all things. Hegel sees that absolute spirit is all. Confucius does not say that heaven, earth is all things because he does not see that heaven, earth is all things. He only sees that heaven, earth is the sphere in which all things appear. Section 6. Confucius and philosophy. Looking into Confucius thinking, what can we draw from it to apply to philosophy? 1. We tend to begin philosophy with a question about things. What is a thing? So, a thing is asked about. In ancient times there was no distinction of many studies such as physics, biology, chemistry, ethnology, philosophy. Today if we say that philosophy is a study of things, philosophy is not different from other studies, every study is a study of things. To distinguish philosophy from physics, for example, we add that philosophy is a study of the first or final cause of things. In fact, physics also aims at the first or final cause of things. So how must a thing be asked so that philosophy is different from physics? Following the step of Confucius, we abandon the domain of material and leap into the realm of brightness in which a thing appears as a thing. While physics stays with material, studies material, and looks for the first cause of material, philosophy leaps out of material. This is a leap. Speaking according to Buddhism, this is to go to the other shore. This shore is material, and the other shore is the way. Physics studies material and has attained to a great amount knowledge of material that philosophy does not know. Philosophy studies the way and physics does not know anything about the way. Philosophy begins with things and does not stay with material, but leaps into the way. Physics also begins with things and stays with material. 2. So for philosophy what is asked about is a thing, but what is investigated is the way. But the way does not appear outside a thing. The way appears only in a thing. A thing is the place of the appearance of the way. Philosophy does not look for the way outside a thing. The way is the domain in which a thing appears as a thing. If there is not the way, there is not a thing, for example a chalice. Physics studies crystal. Physics can bring a large amount of knowledge of crystal. But this knowledge, even how thick it is not enough to make a piece of crystal appear as a chalice. There must be the presence of the way so that a piece of crystal appears as a chalice. So, the way is investigated so that a thing or a piece of material appears as a thing. 3. Confucius sees that the way is the way which man realizes, the way is human way. Without man there is not the way. Philosophy is Wayism, Taoism. There is no true philosophy understood as a study of something outside man. For example, according to Plato, the world of ideas lying at some place and philosophy looks for it. For example, the supreme ultimate lying at some place and philosophy looks for it. For example, the origin of the universe and philosophy looks for it.